Never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bacon, I make plans for 7:45, and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Good evening, CFN. How are we guys doing? How are we guys and gals doing this evening? Sorry for the delay, folks. Facebook, I guess, did a reset on the weekend and wouldn't let me get in. So I apologize for our tardiness. Really interested to talk to the panel today because we are talking HardWater. Just a couple of announcements that I'd like to throw in here while I have a chance. Our editing team has asked me to mention to you that if you want photos, just because it's starting to get difficult with the transition between HardWater and softwater, that if you do have photos that you'd like to see edits done, and those lads are doing a fantastic job, please put them in the inbox at CFN so we can get to them. It also makes it a little bit easier for us to know if it's okay to use your photos. Some people are very protective of their content, totally understand. But if you send us your photos or videos via our inbox, it gives us the okay to use them, as well as provide us an easy means of getting to your content. So anybody who has used it, we appreciate it. Keep up the great work. And otherwise, just keep fishing. Just keep sending us content. I know it's difficult because, as I say, we are in transition. We are getting lots of content from some areas that are just becoming productive. We were talking about how late the season is unfolding in regards to, the walleye, say, in Hamilton Harbor. They're just starting to come in. I know there was a lot of pictures, great pictures on the Bay of Quinte. So the walleye are definitely coming into the bay. But all across Canada, your seasons are different, and we are forever evolving and trying to adapt to make sure that we are providing you guys wicked content. Speaking of wicked content, big shout out. If there's any BC anglers, any BC CFNers listening, there was a post that was shared. I think it was Steve that shared it. Phenomenal post with all the flooding that's been going on there, man. I'll tell you, my hats off and hearts and all our thoughts and prayers are with the families of BC who are dealing with that unbelievable flooding, like just unbelievable. And it's funny, not funny, but it's ironic because everybody sort of predicted that was going to happen with all the forest fires and the lack of coverage and support along those mountains, that we were going to have slides. We were going to see that, and have we ever? But hats off to all the anglers that have those drift boats and jet boats that have been helping out with stranded people, evacuating villages. It's awesome to see our community, our family come together and help out in times when people are so desperate for help. And I'll tell you, the desperation, I can't imagine the desperation of someone stuck in their car for days dealing with those mudslides. So big shout out to all of our BC anglers and our fishing community in the province of BC. Also shout out to Mishi Michelle Avery, and of course Adam. That family right now is dealing with the loss of Mishy's father. Mishy's brought a lot of joy and happiness to our community, so we made a post on the weekend, and big shout out to Mish for what they're dealing with. Their daughter I believe won a championship in hockey because she decided to play. Tough gal to be able to do that after losing your grandfather, but needless to say, persevered and brought home some hardware. So big shout out to the Avery family. I know there's probably something else I'm supposed to mention, and I apologize if anybody can help me out. If there's something in there, let me know. What's up, Barry? How you doing, Rob? Terry's in the house. Terry, nice fish, by the way, dude. Yeah, baby. Eve, how you doing? How's it going? Ed McKenzie, Joe Moore's with us. Scott Stewart, there you go. There's a BC angler right there. Incredible what you guys are dealing with out there, Scott. My hearts and my prayers are with you guys. I can't imagine how you are managing with the deluge of rain that you've received and the one that's still to come. Unbelievable. But as I said, we're persevering as we always do. People are somehow, some way adaptable, and we figure out ways to get by and overcome. But as I said, that's a heck of a lot to deal with in 24 hours, roughly. That I think, Scott, that you got. It was basically what, 2 months, 3 months worth of rain that you got. Unbelievable. And of course, there's no foliage to hold it back. So the slides were just, it was unbelievable to watch. Incredible. What's up, Sparkus? How you doing? Ryan Thompson, newbie from New Brunswick here, sending thoughts to BC. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully we don't disappoint. We are going to be talking ice fishing. I know ice fishing, at least in the inland waters of New Brunswick, perhaps hasn't happened, but it's soon to come. We were just talking about the weather and what it looks like for the future. We're going to ask the panel. Some have a little bit more experience than others in regards to what weather has been like over the years, and whether this HardWater season is on par, or if we're a little bit late, or if we're going to be early. What's your prediction? Do you think across? I know we've got folks out like the Landrys and Alexander Henry that have been posting HardWater shots. We've got some great trout shots as well of folks out in Alberta and northern part of Saskatchewan that are already HardWater fishing. But for us here in the East, do you think we're going to have ice before Christmas? I don't know. We'll ask the panel. They know. They've seen the weather patterns. They've been doing a lot of fishing themselves. So we'll see what they think. And of course, at the end of our power hour, we're going to be doing the North Shore tackle giveaway. And for all those who qualified, as well as those who went to the CFN retreat, your names are on the wheel. And we are going to be spinning that to find out who wins this incredible prize pack that has been the courtesy of North Shore Tackle. I'll tell you, it's a great little prize pack here, and I can't wait to give it away to some very worthy CFNer. Share the feed, folks, absolutely, and don't forget to smash the like button. Steve, as always, buddy, you are on par, on point, and we are so thankful that you are, because it makes my job, or at least my job anyway, very, very easy. Anyway, without further ado, a few more. Jamie Robinson's in the house. How you doing? John, how you doing? Me, Scotty? Yeah, I know, John. Absolutely. There's a bunch of you that have qualified. It is a big wheel, lots of names, lots of multiple entries, too. I was amazed to see how many entries. And, of course, the odd video that was thrown in. So cool to see that. And whoever is the winner, we will pick and choose whatever it was in terms of your content, and we'll try and share it tomorrow just to recognize the winner. Chris Dillon's in the house. How you doing? Well, listen, without further ado, I can't think of anything I'd rather do more than to play this video before we introduce the one and only Jim McLaughlin. Have a listen. Good evening, Jim. And just before we get to saying hello to our our favorite CFNer, Jim McLaughlin, Cameron Tate has reminded me, as always, I always forget something. This Thursday, 8 o'clock, Cameron has a new recipe. It's a walleye recipe, and I cannot wait to see how easy it is to prepare it and how delicious it's going to look. So join us Thursday. Cameron Tate's going to be here and doing what he does best, his newest recipe, and it's dedicated to Tammy.
Cool.
Right on. Do we have an update on where Tammy's at, Jim? Give us
Well, she's just still, we're still just dealing with the original pain that brought her to ER a month ago the first time. And we're just waiting for a call from the people from internal medicine. And we almost brought her to the ER on Saturday.
Wow.
Would have been a week later again, back with the same things. But the pain was in the same place, and it didn't, the pain was so bad that it virtually almost, made her have a heart attack. Like I don't know. I can't comprehend that.
Wow. Well, as you said at the outset, Jim, she is a tough gal. And even as tough as she's
put up with me for almost 40 years.
Well, she's put up with all of us, really, because everybody wants a little piece of Jim.
She's moving upstairs, no doubt about
it. we've Tammy has shared you with all of us, and as I said, we wish that we could give back at least some kind words, some thoughts, and prayers that eventually this pain will subside, that she will get the.
Yeah, they'll fix it, and she's confident like that. That's the sad thing. I got 9 grandkids, and whenever they have something wrong with them, regardless of what it is, like little kids can't understand that it will go away. In most cases,
Yeah.
But adults can, and she's really good at that. So I help it, and don't think that I don't appreciate all these little notes and the things I've heard from people. I was looking at the other day, looking back, trying to answer things, and I went to some of the posts that I had done, and there was like 1,000 people had commented on some of them, and it take me a month to answer them all. Yeah. But it's just don't think that it doesn't mean a lot, because when you're going through times like this, it's not cool. It's tough.
Well, you know what? It's so true, and. Richard, absolutely. All the best from the Dunlap family and every other family that's watching tonight, CFN included. As I said, you are an integral part of our panel, and we love having you here. But our thoughts are with you, man, because it's tough watching a loved one struggle in pain, and we hope the best for her, and we hope that it comes soon.
Well, it's so funny because I went to the gym today. I spent 2 hours there being angry, which is good. And it was really good for me. It put me in a different place.
And you know what? It's great advice for anybody who's listening. If you are struggling with something like that and you just don't know how to release it, go to the gym. Go for a walk. Go punch a tree.
It was funny when I walked out of the gym today. There's at one end of the gym. There's a Muay Thai club. And they've got all their mats and all their stuff and everything else and all the bags and everything that they do. And as I was walking out there, I wound up and unloaded with a phantom overhand left on the way by on the bag. And there was 3 or 4 guys there just sort of turned and looked. When something the size of me gets a nasty and hits something, it makes a lot of noise.
Well, it creates a lot of wind, too. Everybody wants to make sure it's not coming at them.
Well, the bag jumped on the chain.
I was going to say, did the bag punch back?
No. We have a funny picture with one of those dummies, those straight arm, bent arm dummies they use for teaching you positioning for wrestling and grappling. And we have a picture of me laying on my back on it with it choking me out. So that's the kind of day I was having there a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, that's good. Well,
it's funny.
Good to see you smile, buddy. Listen,
you have to keep laughing.
You do, absolutely. It's the best medicine. It truly is the best medicine. I know we were joking about you having a little bit more experience than some of us when it comes to historical HardWater seasons. And Jim, in your opinion, and I'm seeing a lot of great responses in regards to where people think they're at in their province when it comes to the HardWater season. Do you think we're on par Do you think we're going to be a little bit late this year? What are your thoughts?
Well, in Eastern Ontario, where I am here above, I'm between Kingston and Ottawa. I'm 25 minutes above Kingston, just above the 401 and the Rideau Lakes. And I say we've got to be, and I'm looking at the forecast. Like the coldest day we've had is -5, -6, and we're going to have that, I think, tomorrow night and stuff like that. We didn't have frost here till a week ago was the first frost, I think. We had, no, maybe about 10 days ago, we had one, and it was a wicked frost. Like the trees were white, but when the trees are white like that, and we get frost, that just shows you, the warmth that's still there and the moisture that's in the air. I mean, the lakes here, when I'm out in the morning, I barely even see a swamp with a little skip of ice at 6:30 in the morning. It's just not there, And I'm talking to guys that are up above Pembroke and that, and, they got a skim of ice on swamps, but it's just not happening. It's I mean, it's nothing weird, because I talked to my buddy at the weather department at the airport in Ottawa, and I asked them if, when we were having all these really, like warm nights, so to speak, where it wasn't cooling down about 3 weeks ago, I asked them, like, are we breaking records here for that? He said, oh, no. And one of my favorite things was, anybody who lives around Ottawa, there was a guy who did the weather on CJOH for years, JJ Clark. And he's a character. They love fishing, and that's how I got to know him. And he has to come on and say, wow, December 13th, and the high is going to be 11 degrees. But you can't remember the last time that happened. And you look around and go, God, no, that'd be forever. And he'd say, well, it was last year. So I don't think any of us are qualified to really comment on it that much, because people see, oh yeah, I see Erica said she remembers him. He is a great guy. I think I'm pretty sure he's still with us, but he's got some health issues. But no, it's and the big thing, and the thing about the internet that just terrifies me is people go on the internet and they think it's right, like me looking at it and saying, what do you mean they're ice fishing? There's still guys in canoes behind my house today. And and that's, you have to remember what you're reading. I mean, there was the Lindners posted guys ice fishing. I think it was November 3rd in Montana. So like almost a month ago, 3 weeks ago. And I'm talking about, you could see the auger hole, like they weren't just spudding the hole in 3 inches of ice. They were on 6 inches of black ice.
Yeah. It's a great point you make, though, Jim. I know everybody's, in a hurry to get out and enjoy the HardWater season. I know Jim and I talk about it at great length. It's very difficult for me, and I'm sure a lot of other CFNers, including you, Jim, to see folks, as much as you want to see them out enjoying fishing. It's hard for us to post, or share content when you can clearly see that the ice it's so thin. In your opinion, I know we talk about it, what would be considered safe ice?
For me, 4 inches. Knowing it's 4 inches everywhere. And that's the problem. People go out, they drill a few holes, they spud a bit, they're really careful, and then the spud goes back on the sleigh and they just forget about it.
Yeah.
They forget about it. And I won't be surprised if this year is kind of a fizzler for ice fishing. I really just see it setting up to be that, because I looked at the long-term forecast for here. We don't have a double-digit low till December 14th that they're showing.
Wow.
And I mean, it takes some nights of -25 to get most places to freeze across, even just the lakes. So it's hard. I understand with the giant water like Lake Ontario, the St. Lawrence, stuff like that. But I mean, this isn't anything that hasn't happened before. It's like we were talking before we went to air. There's cycles. God knows we don't know what the cycles are, because the cycles could be 100 years. Like Lawrence was saying, there's one they track pretty close that's 11 years. It works around a bit, and others. How do we know that a cycle isn't 1,000 years? Because we don't have records.
True enough.
I mean, we talked about glaciation. The eastern basin of Lake Ontario has been glaciated 3 times in the last 100,000 years. That's like a scientific fact. People don't realize that, 10,000 years ago there was a mile of ice on top of Algonquin Park.
Hard to believe, eh? Hard to believe.
10,000 years ago.
A mile of ice. Holy smokes.
I don't quite remember that, but close.
Unreal.
It was only 400 feet when I used to use a drill rig for oil to ice fish, just keep adding the pipes on and dropping them down.
That is funny stuff.
Oh,
Craig Ainsworth brings up a great point, something that sometimes gets overlooked when it comes to the quality of ice. So 4 inches of ice, does it all have to be black ice? Can you have 2 or 3 inches of, say, black ice and then a slush cover? What is good quality ice in your opinion, Jim?
well, I like to see the ice be clear and black and have a lot of cracks in it.
Yeah.
And especially have big pressure cracks, because that means that the ice is gotten thick enough and strong enough to really push. And when it does that, that's when it's strong. That's when the ice is strong. And I know that when you get ice that's not clear and black, it's definitely not as strong. Everybody knows that. But I mean, if you've got six inches of black ice and then you've got 5 inches of crap on top of it, that 5 inches of crap, I don't know what it's equal to, but it's still equal to something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole thing about it, because you see that a lot. But and it's common sense. There's the shoreline and pressure cracks are two of the most dangerous places. Like the shoreline, I told you the one time in my life I fell through ice fishing at the little bluegill lake. Remember I told you it was right at the shore.
Yep.
Standing waiting for a guy, and I'm just sort of humming and hawing with the fish trap, the rope to my arm, and waiting to go up that hill I told you about.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there talking, and boom, I went through. I stopped at my knees, but it just goes to show the shoreline. It's and I had drilled with a gas auger the holes 200 feet away.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and two, we have varying degrees of ice when it comes to current. Obviously.
Yes, that's another major factor if you have current involved. And see, that's one of the problems with the Rideau Lakes out the back here.
Mm-hmm.
You went down that channel with me that leads to the other lake, that leads to Whitefish Lake, and I mean that's the Rideau Canal system that goes from the Ottawa River at Parliament Hill to Kingston and Lake Ontario. It's a major waterway. There's a lot of water moves in that. And a guy sent me last year some film. He flew a drone from the point out here where it was wide open in the end of January, right to Whitefish Lake, and you would see every bend, you would see those crescent-shaped black marks, and that's where the current goes around, and that will never change. That's just there. So I wouldn't go near that. I wouldn't go out here in the back and fish for all the money. I'd go right behind my house because there's 30 inch. I think there was 34 inches of ice last year, and it wasn't a big deal for ice,
right?
Because it just freezes. It's one of the earliest spots to freeze. There's no current. There's no flow. There's nothing. Once it starts freezing, it just keeps going. So.
Ed McKenzie brings up a good point when it comes to the Bay of Quinte. Gone are the days of ice fishing the Bay of Quinte. Maybe get a month of safe ice nowadays. 30 years ago, there were ice roads from Trenton to Napanee and even further south.
I remember driving them.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember those days as well. It's hard to believe that those small cities that used to, congregate around the Trenton area, you don't see that anymore. And I'm glad we don't. I'm glad there's folks out there that are not risking it. Unfortunately, we did lose an angler last year in the Bay of Quinte, to unsafe ice. And hopefully we don't, knock on wood, lose any this year. But of course, you got to pump the brakes. Everybody wants to get out and enjoy the HardWater. So the minute you see any kind of skim of ice, people are trying to test it, right? They're trying to push the envelope.
Yeah, and it's like my buddy Gord has some like humdinger spots out there, and he's fished there all his life, and he puts in probably 25-30 days a year there now because it's a short season. You just don't have as much time. But I mean, when they go out there, they're all in floater suits, regardless if they're on 5 inches of ice or 10. And the problem with a place like Quinte is the currents and the water movement from the big water coming in there. I mean, when you're fishing down a hole in the morning, your line's straight, and then an hour later your line's going underneath you, and then 3 hours later it's going away from you. Well, that's a lot of water movement. Like something's going back and forth, and that'll eat at the ice like you wouldn't believe, and that's why Quinny changes so rapidly. We've all heard stories of guys going out there on 4 or 5 inches of ice, which, as long as you're checking it, that's good ice if it's black.
Yeah.
But you know what? The bottom line is, I get 100 emails a winter and probably 100 messages on Facebook or more. Is the ice safe yet? Where can I go? I won't tell anybody. I will not tell anybody you should be going here. You'll be going there. I don't ever want to have somebody say, yeah, I went to the Little Bluegill Lake. Is it safe? Well, when I was there, it was 6 inches thick, and yeah, it was safe.
Yeah.
But that was two weeks ago. We had rain. It was plus 10 for 3 days. Who knows?
Yeah.
That's why you have to constantly check.
And we do know people in our community, unfortunately, that have given the green light to anglers and unfortunately got it wrong because things, as you said, they change. And
it's like everybody wants to help everybody. If you want to know what lure or rod I think you should be using, I'll yap to you all night.
Yeah.
But when it comes to that, or what spoon you should be working with, or what should you use, a jig and wrap or a puppet minnow or whatever, it's I'll use. But no, and it's amazing when some of the things that came out. I was talking to one of the guys today. Well, a Wegman, and HT has a new drill that they brought out, a new auger, and it's supposed to be way better than the Nero.
What?
Way better. Not just.
That's almost hard to believe.
I know. I was, obviously we haven't got any yet, but we're just working on it, and they'll probably have an announcement. They're working on a major dealer in Ontario here in Southern Ontario that's going to inventory like a monstrous amount of this stuff in a warehouse for online sales and stuff from HT. The problem with HT, as with all the companies, they've got containers sitting on ships anchored out in the ocean in front of LA, San Francisco, or wherever it is out there. Maybe it's Vancouver. I don't know. But they've got ships anchored in the ocean with their stuff on it. Like
bloody supply chain.
$2 million worth of stuff. Yeah.
And my fear is, as being sort of somewhat in the automotive trucking business and seeing how hard it is to get parts to keep our fleet running. It's getting worse every day. It's getting harder to source parts. I hope it doesn't get worse, but it certainly looks like it's going that way. And of course, if it's like that for automotive, just in time products, I can't imagine the hit that some of our tackle and hardware producing companies in the fishing industry are going to be dealing with.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I think you're not going to see much of a fishing contingent, even if any of the shows do go.
Yeah.
Because why would you spend a ton of money to go? And I mean, I want them to go. I love the shows. I think they are absolutely great. Although they're getting a little bit outdated, there's no doubt about it. There is a change.
Mm-hmm.
Foolish to say there isn't. They're not going to go incur all the expense of a show if they don't have enough product to make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
And then do they just want to take what they have in the store and blow it out on sale and go back to the store and go, oh, we got nothing here to sell now.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the situation. A lot of so it's you're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Right.
So I gotta talk about one thing I got. So they've redesigned the Convergence ice rods. I haven't got them yet. They're all on the way. They're all on the way. They're beautiful. But the Loomis IMX ice rods.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this thing just weighs absolutely nothing, and that's it's like a medium heavy. It would be almost good enough for bigger walleyes in Quinny, but for most of the walleyes in Quinny it would be awesome. And I mean, I want to weigh these. Tammy has a scale, but the battery's burned out. We've got this little scale that we used to use when we were in the huge dieting mode to weigh food. And I know if I put this on there, it weighs, it's like next to nothing. It's just like you can hold the rod at the end. You shouldn't be doing this, but if you can hold the rod at the end, and it weighs nothing. And the panfish models, they're counterbalanced on the end here, the way they're even the difference between the walleye rod and this. I mean, these things are not cheap, but with the money that people, there's guys out there, spending $800 and $900 for a rod, $1,000 for a reel. So what's $269 for a rod? Ice fishermen, like we've said this, you've heard me say this many times, that the ice fishing industry has come to the dish big time. It's growing up. It's not like the old days where you had all these rods with the big steel guides that froze and you used to curse, and the rods were fiberglass and you could have lifted a cinder block with them, and that's all they had. Ice fishing is growing up, and it's just an incredible. There's an incredible amount of stuff out there now, and an incredible amount of good stuff. Yeah. And that's the thing, like stuff that just shines. Eh? Something I want to talk about. I had a few people ask me already is about spring bobbers. We'll do that next week maybe, and explain exactly what a spring bobber is. A lot of people just really don't know what a spring bobber is. Just like, you hear me all the time go on about football jigs. Football jig ain't meant to be jigged. It's meant to be real. And, like there's yeah, you can do it, but this is really what it's meant to be done. It's like this is when it shines. And there's just so many things out there like that. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of exciting stuff. Like I say, a lot of the stuff that was announced is, Shimano's lucky. Jackal has some new stuff that was announced that's in good numbers. A lot of it was stuff for bigger fish, though. I thought it was more like a southern bass market as opposed to up here, because some a lot of the plastic they brought, some of it's pretty big. Like not that you couldn't use it here, but you're more apt to use it if you're further south where you got those 6 to 8 pound, 10-pound fish available, and you want to entice them. Yeah, but I mean they still have there's all the stuff that's still there that's as good as ever.
Well, it's interesting, as good as it is, sometimes it becomes old faithful and traditional ways, like Mike Brenz. He says, I exclusively use birch branches for ice fishing. Although I own several ice rods, it seems to be better luck for me.
Yeah, because he fishes with live bait. Yeah, okay. I understand that.
So which brings me to the question that Jeremy is asking everyone. What is everybody's opinion on jaw jackers? Obviously using live bait. What's your opinion on jaw jackers, Jim?
I don't own anything like that. I don't use anything like that. It's not what I do. And it's, really it's that's more of a thing. I think it's a weekend angler thing where they got the family on the ice and they've got their line set, and that way they don't have to be on top of it waiting for a fish to bite. It hooks the fish for them in most cases, and then they get the kid gets to reel the fish in, or the mom, or the dad, whoever. Yeah. But I think it's more of that type of thing. Like you won't go to the Minnesota Ice Fishing Championship to see anybody fishing with a jaw jacker.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because Jason Barnews, and I did not know this, they are a great product if you want to use tip-ups, but they're not legal in all states or provinces.
Wow.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
Because it's a device. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I remember that a long time ago. That's why I don't use them. I'm going to jail. Well, when I had a guy, I don't know, his name was Don. He was a caretaker in the building beside the building I lived in Ottawa as a kid. And he took me ice fishing. And the first thing that he did was we stopped on the shoreline, and he found a willow tree, and he cut off about 6 or 8 branches. Mm-hmm. And we used willow trees. They put he brought wooden clothes pegs, and they would wrap the line around the willow tree. They would put a slight cut in the bark, just a little weeny cut, like just with a really sharp pocket knife, a little cut. Put the line in there, and then put a clothes peg to hold it even better, so it couldn't slip through. It would get pulled down, and that's the way he taught me to ice fish. That's what I did. And I remember going out that day. We went to a place called White Lake outside of Arnprior. Yeah. And I remember going down the end of this darn dirt road. We must have got the vehicle stuck 5 times. And we got it out, and out we went. We went out, and I caught a pike about 8 pounds. The first fish I ever caught ice fishing. And I was like Homer Simpson spinning around on one leg,
Wow, taking swings at heavy bags and pirouettes. I tell you, Jim, you were a man of many talents.
I was a little bit smaller then.
Right on, buddy. Well, listen, the time, I don't know where it goes, but just so everyone knows, we are going to be talking ice fishing for at least the next couple weeks leading up to Christmas. So make sure you stay tuned. Jim, we talked about ice quality. There were a lot of great comments, some great advice for folks, when it comes to honeycomb, bubbles, current, this, that, everything
Oh
else.
yeah, anytime the ice is breaking, like run away, run away, run away. Like you don't want to be there.
No, 100%. Well, Jim, listen, give Tammy a big hug for us.
I will do. Thanks, guys.
And hopefully we have some good news very shortly.
And stay safe out there. Don't go on the ice. Don't be stupid. It'll
Amen.
freeze. You'll eventually get to catch a fish through the ice when it's this thick instead of this thick. Like I say, Scotty, I always say it's like a contest to see who pick me. I'll die. I'll be on the news.
Yeah.
And like nobody needs to hear that complaining of like somebody will drown and all the people go on and say, "Oh, what a dummy" and everything. Well, the family doesn't need to hear that stuff.
100%.
The guy died. Nobody thinks they're going to die when they do that stuff. But, you don't. Seriously, you don't. You just think you're invincible, and that's the problem, eh? But stay safe, and we don't have to worry about that kind of stuff.
Buddy, I couldn't agree more, and I couldn't have said it better myself. Fantastic.
Thanks,
dude.
Doug.
You have yourself a great week.
I will. Be safe out there, folks.
All the best, Jim. Bye now. As always, a wealth of information and knowledge and experience. Lots of experience. So pay attention to his advice and use it, man, because I'll tell you, advice and knowledge and experience comes from a lot of effing up. That's what I attribute it to. We get ourselves in positions where sometimes we can't get ourselves out, and we don't want to see others get in that position. Before we bring in Lawrence, let's do an ice fishing video and a word from our sponsor before we bring in Lawrence Gunther. Good evening, Lawrence. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. Thanks.
I'll tell you, this is a popular topic, and you have a popular subject that you want to talk about today. First off, how you been this week? What have you been up to?
It's been a good week. Just packing away the deck, right? Like, I mean, you set up the deck in the spring, and you have all these great summer memories, and it's so hard to put it away because it's admitting the end.
It is, a lot of folks like myself have a hard time, putting the boat away and putting our soft water rods away and all of our gear. But I will say this, these elongated times of transition do give us ample time to get ready. So, by the time the hard water does start to set in, I'll tell you, everybody is going to be ready to go.
Well, this is the time, right, when anglers go nuts because the ice, it's too cold to put the boat in. The ice ramps are icing up the boat ramps, and yet you can't get on the ice because there's not enough ice yet. So November is gloves come off and people start duking it out right on 100%. The internet.
100%. Your topic, I love your topic. Of course, it speaks to a lot of us anglers that perhaps maybe don't have those snow bears and the ability to travel on ice via four-wheel drive vehicles. We are running gunners. We need those huts. What is best when it comes obviously to first ice? You want to stay light. You don't want to be heavy. You don't want to be dragging it. And if you do get in trouble, the last thing is you want an anchor behind you that's going to put you in a bad spot. When it comes to ice huts, tell us what we should be looking for.
Oh, it's such an emotional sort of question. Like my first ice hut, I built myself, right, out of plywood and 2x4s and a little stainless steel coal oil stove that my neighbor made, and I traded him for some stuff for some snowmobile parts for it. and I put cross country skis, no, down wooden downhill skis, 2 sets on the bottom, and and the first place I put it out was on Lake Muskoka in Ontario, and I'm towing it down the ramp, down the hill onto the lake with my Yamaha snowmobile, and I get it out onto the lake, and my snowmobile just can't do it. And along comes this Mr. Grand from Grand and Toy on his Argo, his 6 or 8 wheel Argo. I don't remember how many wheels it had. And he said, "You having trouble?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, I don't have enough. My snowmobile just won't pull my ice shack out. He goes, "I'll pull it out for you." So I said, "Okay." So I took the rope off my snow, put it on the back of his Argo. He gave me his 5-year-old. I put the 5-year-old on my snowmobile with me, and we pulled it out onto the Lake Muskoka, out off the tip of Grand Island. And there it stayed all winter. And man, we had some fun with that. We did, the chainsaw coffin size hole in the ice and slid the shack on top of that. And I had a big trap door that would open up, and you'd have this giant slot hole, and that stayed open all winter. We kept that open all winter. Those are great memories, right? Those are great memories. The guys coming out, firing up the stove, and everyone hanging around and, running out back and forth, checking on it all winter. And, and I know it's, for 100 reasons, that's just not the way to go these days, for 100 reasons. Number one, you have to be on top of it. If you get a melt and then there's water on top of the ice, you got to jack that thing up before it freezes into the ice. Otherwise, you've got a huge extraction issue. You got to license the things. And there's no way to keep people out of them, in terms of theft and so forth. So that's an issue. And then just I had some buddies last year in COVID, they decided they were going to build themselves big ice shacks. One was a 12 by 12, one was a 12 by 8. Jeez. And they were going to just hunker out there in the winter and, do fishing and forget about COVID. And they couldn't even get them on the ice last year because we never had enough ice. Well,
I often wonder, and obviously, snow machines is the first thing I think of, and how do they get these monstrosities out on the ice? I mean, and I have seen, I'm sure everyone has seen some of these 2- and 3-story ice huts. They're condominiums that they drag out on the ice.
Yeah.
Unless you're living in the far north, I don't think you're going to see a lot of that unless we have, a revisit of the Ice Age. But, permanent huts definitely were the thing that I remember, although I don't remember actually using a hut much when I was a kid. And for that reason, I'd be honest, I didn't really enjoy ice fishing, because if you got to sit out here and freeze to death, to me, what's the fun in this? But in terms of those, they have certainly come a long way. When you talk about different types of wood, you've got all kinds of artificial wood now that is lighter, composite products that don't rot and don't soak in water like traditional wood does.
Yeah, they got all that.
Which is great. But as I forget who it was that mentioned it, but in terms of the insulated pop-ups, these insulated, hold over, what have you, man, have they ever come a long way.
I've got that now. I've got the double hub, insulated. I've got the 2-person side entry flip over and I've got a single person flip over, all with the insulated, ratings. And they're wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. When you can throw, and I've got all that in the back of my truck, right? 6.5 foot with a cap on it. And it's all piled in the back of the truck, plus a couple empty sleds. Yeah, sometimes when those old ice shelters, the frames get bent and the covers get beat up and holes chewed in by rats, I just take all that off, and I've got this giant sled. It used to be an ice fishing flip over, and bought it off the guy for $50, and now I've got this giant sled, which is fantastic. And it's all just in the back of my truck like a Russian stacking doll, just one inside the other. And then, I've got myself a Polaris extra long snowmobile, and it can tow the whole thing, right? The snowmobile comes off, it's got reverse. I back it off the trailer, and we just flip the shack out and hook it up, and I drive the snowmobile out there. My buddy just sits behind me, and they put their hands on my shoulders, and they just, push, and I go faster, and then they pull on my left shoulder to go left, pull on my right shoulder to go right, and shake me to stop. And I'm not going fast, but you're out there on the frozen lake. There's not a lot around. I love it. I love snowmobiling when I could see a bit. I still love snowmobiling. If we're in a busy place, I don't drive the snowmobile, but if it's wide open, we're the only ones out there. I love it, man. I love it. And I had a friend of mine, he has an Arctic Cat dealership, and he said, Lawrence, we should set a land speed record with you. He said, I'll get a couple of my best Arctic Cats out there, and then we'll set up some two-way radios. They have the radios on the snowmobiles now that hook into your helmets. And he said, we'll do it up at my cottage in Bancroft. And I said, how fast do these snowmobiles go? He goes, they go about 130 miles an hour. And I said, how long's your lake? He goes, 2.5 miles. And I'm doing the math. And I said, we'll be able to get to the other end of the lake in under a minute.
Lawrence,
I'm not sure if that's a good idea.
Lawrence, with all the stories that you've told me about your friends leaving you out on the ice and now challenging you to a race on the ice, I think it's unanimous. You need to get better friends.
You cannot do 130 miles an hour down a lake that's 2 miles long, right?
Especially if you're blindfolded. Like you're going to have a bad time.
Slow down. How fast should I slow down? Boom, into the bush.
Anyways, in regards to those pop-up tents, obviously, you have the single tents, you've got double tents, you've got the large ones that Kevin Lowen needs with his gargantuous family.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
In terms of what each individual needs and requires, there is a whole host of what you can buy. They have. Anyway, look at a catalog, look at it online. This isn't about is clam better, is otter better, none of that. But I will say the one thing that and I'll have you chime in as well. If you're going to buy one of these huts, go the extra mile and get a quilted hut. Don't get the single. Go with the quilted. Do you agree?
It's a huge difference. Huge difference. The single, it sweats and then it freezes, and then as soon as you got ice on the inside, it's colder than outside. So I've got a couple of heaters. I've got the giant Mr. Buddy guy there with the he takes 2 tanks, or I have a little 10-gallon tank I can bring out on that, and I have the smaller one. And but that's really important, but having good ventilation in that too, because as soon as that flame starts to flicker, that means the propane isn't burning clean, and you're getting a lot of CO2 because it's not burning properly. And as soon as your eyes start to get a little stingy, get the freaking window open, because that's when you can start into carbon monoxide poisoning, when that flame starts to flicker on those ice heaters. So burning that, getting that last couple ounces out of those little 1-pounder tanks, hey, it's not worth it, you guys. Just, end the misery, pop in a fresh tank and get that nice clean burn going again. It's so important.
100%. And absolutely, John, go quilted for sure. As I said, it is a little bit more money, but
heavy
to me, it's money well spent. It's your tent's going to be a lot more durable. Yeah. It's going to be able to stand up to the elements. It won't leak. It might sweat, unfortunately, on the inside. But is there any way you can avoid that sweating that people have to deal with from time to time?
I think it's just ventilation. And look, how warm do you have to be? Like you're dressing up to be outside. For me, I like an ice shelter that can pop halfway up. So most of the time, my shelter is in the half position. It's the half up position. So it's a windbreak, right? On a calm day, but there's just a little bit of breeze. First thing I do when I get out there, where's the sun on my face? Because I want to face the sun. I want the sun warming me. And where's the wind? And if there's just a little bit of breeze, like even that little 5 km/h breeze can make the difference between warm and cool. So if you figure out where the breeze is coming from, and then you just put the back of the sled towards the breeze and the front hopefully towards the sun as much as possible, and figure that out before you start drilling the holes, because then you don't even have to flip the shed all the way over. We'll sit like that all day, and then when that bite starts to fire up, that end of day bite, and the sun's going down, that's when you flip it right down, right? Because it's cooling off real fast. As soon as you lose the sun, you lose the heat. You flip it right down, and then you hunker down to get that last little evening bite, that magic hour, right? So yeah, but I love it. I love just you can have the best of both worlds. But me, I fish without my gloves on because I need to feel the bite. So I need to keep my hands warm. But I figured out a million ways to do it without, with gloves off. You just stay out of the wind and stay in the sun as much as you can, and you'll be okay.
100%. Jason brings up a great point, and this is something, especially if you are like the Bar News family and you can't sit still, and you like to hole hop. Setting up a hub is a great idea. It's basically like if you're hiking in the woods and you know that the sun's going to be going down soon. Before you start, collecting firewood or food or whatever, set up your tent, set up your home base, so you have somewhere that's warm, that you can go, you can eat, you can take your gloves off, you can get that chill out, get out of the wind, what have you, and still enjoy a great day of fishing where you're able to scout out where the fish are and move without having to worry about being out in the elements for the entire day. Great idea there, Jay. Glad you mentioned that. But yeah, I mean, as I said, there's so many different manufacturers. You got your Frey bills, you've got your clams, you've got your otters. I think by now they're all very similar. They all have different options. I don't know. I might be wrong. Is there one that's better than the other? I'm sure there's people in here that will suggest otherwise.
You know what? The more you spend, the better you're going to get. Like you want the 3/4 inch thick telescopic poles, or you want the little 1/2 inch, telescopic. The more you spend, the better quality you're going to get. The better quality you're going to get, the heavier it gets. So at some point, your friends are going to hate you if you're expecting them to haul that great big monster double cedar flip over onto the ice that weighs 125 pounds. So that's the most important thing to look at, is when you're considering the purchase price, look at the weight. Because if you're planning on going on long walks and you don't have a machine to pull you around, that weight is the most important thing. It's thermo singular. The thermo quilted shacks are much heavier. That's a much heavier, like it'll add 10 pounds, but it's not a huge amount, but it does add about 10 pounds on a double cedar. But every ounce counts now when you're hauling by hand, right? Because if you're going to work up a big sweat, you're going to think twice about going ice fishing. If it's a huge amount of work, you're thinking, I'll take a pass.
And as Jim will always tell us, and I'm sure everyone feels the same, but by the end of that walk or that journey out on the ice, if you're like me, you've got a good sweat on. First things first, even though you're warm, it doesn't take long to get cool, especially if the wind's out. Make sure you are out of the wind and you have the ability to get warm, because that sweat will soon turn to frost before you know it.
Yeah. I know lots of guys, they'll take their outer jacket off and they'll wear a breathable wool with some good wicking layers underneath. And that way, when they're sweating, the humidity passes right out of their clothing. And then as soon as they stop, they'll put the winter coat on. As soon as they stop and they start to feel a little chill and that, they're cooling, then they put their parka back on. And that's how, because otherwise you're sweating inside that big, heavy sort of waterproof parka that doesn't breathe so much. And then you work up a real sweat, and then you got nothing, right? Nothing. That's it. You just dampened your protection. So don't be afraid to take that outer layer off and wear some breathable wools and things like that. Some of those fleeces it don't breathe so well because it's like plastic, mostly plastic, all plastic. And those big cotton hoodies, right? They just absorb moisture like a towel. So they're not going to breathe at all. So anything cotton in the winter is a no-no.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the dry wick material, but in the wintertime, it's sort of a must. If you can and enjoy it, you're better off than I got to fight to put that stuff on, because I don't know, maybe I'm a pansy, I'm not sure, but I'm not a big fan of that dry wick stuff. But in the winter, does it ever help? Ed McKenzie brings up a tip here. Here's a tip for any metal tube type hut: spray jig a lube or some type of waterproofing spray inside the tubes. Interesting. And I'm assuming that's for reducing friction, as well as just creating a strong bond between the fabric and the steel. Ed,
no. What it does, those tubes slide inside each other. So if you hear that when you're sliding them in and out, just that's what I did now already before when it's still nice outside and you're working with your hands and you can take your time, you're not freezing. Just get a can of silicone spray from Canadian Tire. Good for everything. It that doesn't hurt anything. Silicone spray is like a waterproofing material. You can spray it on your coat and you spray it on those bars. It dries. It's a dry lubricant and it doesn't cause any sort of discoloration. It's even the stuff they put on fishing line, right? It's 100% silicone spray for your bait cast. You can put it on your fishing line as well, and for longer casts. But it gets that sort of screeching sound out of those posts, those telescopic poles in your tent, and that's so it makes it so much easier when you're setting up and taking down. It just goes so much faster.
Well, unfortunately, as always, the time just flies by. But Corey brings up a good point. Something that perhaps maybe we'll talk about with you next week is some of the clothing that we should use. We did sort of touch on it when it comes to cotton and perhaps using dry wick. But when it comes to flotation suits, bibs, that kind of thing, even down to footwear. Do we bring spikes? Do we always use spikes, or are you just using a rubber sole? Great things to talk about.
Topics.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely speak about that next Monday. In the meantime, as always, Lawrence, thanks so much for coming each and every Monday and spreading some knowledge.
Well, thanks for having me, man, and thanks everyone for giving me a chance to talk to you guys. And love your comments.
Right on, dude. You keep up the great work. And of course, if we're looking to find some of your podcasts, where would we look?
Bluefish Radio. Just ask your speaker or your podcast, Apple Podcast. Bluefish Radio, the latest episode of the Bluefish Radio Show. Hey, we just dropped an episode today. My buddy, Dr. Chris Harvey Clark, was scuba diving just out of Halifax Harbor there. He was down 70 feet and a 10-foot great white started circling him. And then he had, not only that, to get back to the dive boat, he had to go through the top 40 feet of water. He couldn't see his hand. It was so murky, but he had no choice but to swim through that murk to get back to the dive boat, knowing he's being circled by this 10-foot great white.
Okay, who has man? Holy smokes! I almost have to use the bathroom right now.
Oh yeah.
If there is a fear, I mean, I'm not a big fan of snakes, but that right there, my hair is literally standing up on end. Holy cow.
Yeah. So we really get into the great white situation on the east coast of Canada. What's going on with the great whites? Where are they coming from? Why are they coming? What does it mean for fishing, fish, tourism, the ecosystem as a whole? This guy, he lives and breathes this stuff. That's what he does at Dalhousie University. That's his expertise.
Listen, knock on wood. Hopefully for a long time, he lives and breathes this because, dude, you can't go to the well that often. Getting circled by a great white in murky water. Yeah. That's a death sentence.
Oh man. Oh, he's suffering a little bit of PTSD right now.
I can imagine. I am. I'm just hearing the story. Crap.
You listen to him tell it. Yeah.
Wow.
That episode just went out today. It's going to be in the Bluefish News tomorrow. It's a big shark feature. So check it out.
And I invite everybody to go there. Unfortunately, Lord, you will not see this guy there. There's not a chance. Thanks as always, Lord. You have yourself a great week, my friend.
Thanks, buddy.
All the best. And before we bring in our next guest, let's have a word of the sponsor.
Want to know the difference between power bait and other soft plastics? Ask the fish. Berkeley scientists have thousands of flavors tested on thousands of fish. Natural, man-made. Every bait that's ever hit the water. No matter the shape, size, or color, power bait is the only one that is scientifically proven. Fish bite and will not let go.
J-Dog's in the house. How you doing, brother?
Good, Scotty. How are you doing?
Good, man. Did we finally get to the bottom of the jaw-jacking saga? Is jaw-jacking allowed? Is it not allowed?
And the warning I put up there, because I don't use them, but I have friends that do. And so because we have so many listeners from across the country and even across the continent, when you I'm going to give a shout out to Jay Siemens. So Jay Siemens, if anyone doesn't know, familiar with Jay, he's a videographer. He's actually good friends with a few other people that we know, like Ryan Bonin and Avery Rose. He uses them regularly, and he talks about how in some jurisdictions, they're not legal because the spring loading in them makes them illegal in some jurisdictions. And so I don't know the nuances of it, but I'm just going to give people a warning that if you're going to buy it, depending on where you are, you might just want to follow up with somebody. But Scottie, I'm going to put something in on note with Jay Siemens. I'm going to put something in the chat. And, Jay, especially during COVID, he really got out and put a lot of thought into this great video series, Complete Guide to Ice Fishing. Okay, there's 10 videos. He starts, video number 1, I think, is ice safety, and video number 10 is like how to locate fish. Covers everything in between, huts, clothing. He does such a good job. I really recommend everyone watch his videos. Like, strongly recommend. And what I did was the link is to Jay's playlist on his YouTube channel. So big shout out to Jay Siemens just for trying to keep everybody safe. Now, in what you and Jim are talking about, Scottie, he did a video this week, ice fishing in northern Manitoba. He wasn't on a lot of ice. Like, I think it was safe. I know him well enough. I don't think he would take chances. But when you can just readily chisel a hole without having to use an auger, that's not a lot of ice. I'm a pretty big guy, so we, as Heather has always said in this house, we're not a 4-inch family. We're a 6-inch family when it comes to ice safety. Okay, yeah. So that's all I'm going to say.
I hear you. And as I said, you can do it because you do have a relationship with Jay. I wouldn't dare point the finger at anybody. I have certainly, done things that I'm not proud of when it comes to ice, or have been in situations that I certainly wish I wasn't. I did have a mishap a couple of years back where I did fall through. Well, thankfully, I was close to shore. But like Craig talked about the honeycombing, recognized it immediately once I got out there. It was like an accordion, and tried to get off, but unfortunately, as soon as I turned around, it was too late, and I had already jumped, fallen through. But it happens. But make sure that you have a rope around your waist or your setup, especially ice fishing by yourself. As much as I love to build community, I don't want to stress it enough. Taking somebody with you is crucial. Never ice fish alone if you can avoid it.
It is, and I've done some silly things in my time, like even one time, like, well, I work in Burlington, that's where my office is, and I've fished on Hamilton Harbor in the dark by myself, catching walleye. And looking back, it's probably not the smartest thing I should have done, being a kilometer out in the middle of Hamilton Harbor. Now, I was around other anglers, but a lot of us will stay till the night bite, and then you got to pack up your stuff. You come out your shelter, and like that one particular night, everybody was gone, and it was pitch black. I had my headlamp and my floater suit and my spud, and I knew where I was going. The only thing out there was me and the coyotes pasted my hut because they could smell my bait. So, I don't know if I would do that again, to be honest, by myself.
It's we all love the glory of catching that fish, and let's face it, they're out there, they're swimming, and we fish for the sake of the what if, but it's about the fish, what if about the fish. It's not the what if, do you think am I going to be okay? If you're asking that question, you already know the answer. So it's best to err on the side of caution.
And some good points to go back to some of the points that Lawrence made, talking about huts, and insulated huts, non-insulated huts, basically. And I'll say this with every kind of fishing you want to do, do what you can afford, do what makes sense. Okay. And when it comes to ice fishing, prioritize. So, the first thing that you should look at is, how are you going to drill your hole? And I know there's a lot of other things before that, but until you drill your hole, you can't ice fish.
Yeah.
So, whether you want to use a hand auger or a power auger, there's a lot of different options out there. Some of the new pistol bits with a drill, they work. That's probably for a lot of people, especially in the southern part of the provinces, like where we are down here. That's plenty to carve through a lot of ice. But then you have to worry about the clothing part of it, and the hut part of it. I actually owned a clam suit It's not a flotation suit. This is before Clam was making flotation line suits. But you know what, Scotty? It was a Gore-Tex suit. It was really warm. I fish a ton outside, even with a hub shelter, which we own now. We have owned one for a while, but I had to upgrade because everyone got bigger in the family, including me. So I had to upgrade to a larger shelter, but I still fish outside a ton. Proper layers, proper clothing. But some of the new ice fishing suits, they're a good investment. And if you take care of them, they will last you. Like my clam suit, it's pretty much done now, to be honest, but I've had it for over a dozen years. And I've probably fished in it 200, 300 days, you know? So that's a great investment. Yeah, at the time, it probably cost me $500, but I've got that much time out of it. And what's nice about the Gore-Tex suits versus the actual flotation suits, it's about mediating the heat. Like, dude, I'm a big guy. I sweat a lot. So if I'm going to wear, and I have floater suits I wear. If I'm going out and I'm really worried about the ice, I'll bring my spud and I will wear my flotation suit. But I like the peace of mind that the good ice suits bring you, whether it's a striker ice suit, clam ice suit, Eskimo makes ice suits. They are a fantastic investment. And in fact, what makes them even better than saving your life is, so saving your life is number one. Number two, they're like a portable tackle storage system. Like there's pockets all over them. So, like when I'm ice fishing, like I got all my little ice fishing boxes, right? So I can put one in every pocket, and I can, and so then I got my bucket and I got my stool and I got my flasher and I got a couple rods and I'll set up a hub. And I do this all the time. We'll set up our hub and I will fish all around. In fact, and there's days too where I don't even set up the hub until I'm ready to set up the hub. And there's days where the hub never gets set up because we moved around so much and we stayed warm enough moving. We never had to set it up. So that's what I have to say. Now back to hubs and weight. Richard chimed in here. Richard Elliott chimed in. Erie Secrets, and I recommend someone going back through the comments. They make these great Smitty sleds. They're made out of aluminum with HPDI parts, and they're super light. So last year we picked up an Erie Secret sled, and we were able to put a big Pelican sled on top of it, strap everything down inside. So we had our hub, our 2 stools, heater, propane tank, all of our gear, and Trevor was pulling it in 2 feet of snow by himself. To have a good sled in it. So if you want to get more ice fishing in this year, and you do not have an ATV or a quad or a skidoo, I'm going to tell you guys, you need a Smitty sled. You need to build one or buy one. I don't care. You will enjoy ice fishing so much more with a Smitty sled. Buy a couple used skis off of Facebook or Marketplace, or go to a pawn shop. Buy 2 used skis, build a Smitty sled, and I guarantee you will ice fish twice as much, especially if you don't own a machine. Because 2 years ago in Halliburton, I went out there with my buddies. We fished all day, caught some beautiful lake trout, but we fished during a snowstorm, right, Scotty? So low pressure coming in, snow's falling hard, and we're smashing lake trout. It was fantastic. It gets dark. Got to head back. I got a 1 kilometer walk through 2 feet of fresh powder. It almost did me in, man. Like, I mean it, like dragging my one man and the clam canai, which 1-person trap I have. It's not the lightest 1-person trap. And I'm pulling this thing and it's plowing snow and I'm dying. And it took me forever to get this thing back to shore. Now with my Smitty sled, I'm completely mobile now. And the Smitty sled, even in our van, now the Smitty sled from Erie Secrets comes apart. And I recommend if you again, look at your vehicle and what fits. Some of these big fold down shelters will not fit in even a full size truck because your bed's too short or you got a tonneau cover. You need to think about how much space you have. But some of these designs that they have for Smitty sleds, Erie Secrets 1, it comes apart. I can take the whole thing apart. What we did last year, though, in our van, we can slide the seats forward, and Trevor and I could pick up the whole thing, the Smitty sled with all of our stuff in it, pick it straight up, put it right in the van. When we get to wherever we're going, lift it out, set it down, off you go. It's being organized is so important, but that Smitty sled, I recommend everybody build one. And that's a good tip. So wax the skis, get yourself some ski wax, because you're going to beat the crap out of those skis, because we're all going to go up to, let's say, like last year, I went up to Aurelia. We went fishing on Cooch, early ice. Ice was plenty safe. A lot of people catching perch on Cooch. But I had to drag that thing across the parking lot, across the gravel. Like, you know, my brand new Smitty sled with these old cross-country skis, and I'm dragging this thing across the parking lot. You know, and you can just feel it tearing the skis up. So keep it waxed and take care of it. It's going to last you a long time. Really, really good investment.
The other thing too that I learned at a very young age when it comes to physics, some of the ropes that are provided for the sleds, for the pullovers, the clamps, what have you, they're factory made. They're not long enough. I mean, they're great if you're only pulling it a couple hundred feet, but if you're dragging it like Jason does, you know, a couple, probably 10, 12 miles like you normally do.
Oh God. Yeah. I don't want to tell you how far last year. So I take good like yacht rope, like it's like almost like 1/2 inch rope. And I actually put it right across my chest, and I run it on a long angle. So I want to keep the front of the sled up, but I like it across my chest, kind of around, not because if it's around my waist, it's like pulling on me. I want it on my chest and I can like drag it. But last year with the Smitty sled, my buddy and his son had a flip over clam with no skis, and they took turns pulling it. And I beat them. I probably outpulled them 2-1 by myself with all the gear. Trevor just walked along like, you know, looking around. He's chilling. And it's amazing how you can take 150 pounds of gear and it's nothing to pull it on a Smitty sled. The next weekend, that same guy, Brett, him and his son built Smitty sleds. And the next weekend we went to Rice Lake, and they had Smitty sleds. He got all you need is some 2x4s or 2x6s and a bit of hardware and some old skis. And the next weekend they had Smitty sleds, and we were off to the races, the whole group of us. It was fantastic. Highly recommend it.
Christina, great question. And you know what? I can't think of a better person to talk about it than yourself, Jay. When it comes to footwear, I know we have to adapt for the conditions. Are you one that likes to use snowshoes while walking out on the ice?
So I don't usually wear snowshoes. The boots I wear are Baffin Titans. I wear those probably 70% of the time. I wear them because of their insulation properties. Like they're rated to -100, and it's all in their insole. They're so thick. Now maybe because I wear a size 14 Baffins, maybe those are like snowshoes to other people, but that's me. But if I was doing back lake fishing, where there was more powder to worry about, I'd probably consider snowshoes. And I do have a pair in the shed that I haven't used. But most of the places I go, you know, around here, especially on some of the bigger bodies of water, they're pretty windswept. And so trails get trampled down pretty good. But with the Smitty sled, it stays up on top. The only issue that I have around here that we get more down, well, it happens everywhere actually, it's the slush. Okay. And whether you have, there's no way around it sometimes, like whether you have good boots, good snowshoes, the slush will ruin your day, especially if you have a heavy machine and you get stuck in the slush. So, you know, everyone be aware of slush and really try to avoid areas of slush. And you know, we'll get more into ice fishing over the next few weeks with the show here, but slush is a killer when it comes to ice fishing. But on the big windswept lakes, we typically don't have a lot of slush issues. And you can watch the weather to see how slush might form. A slush forms when there's warming trends and you get warmth against the ice under the snow insulates. But then some really cold weather can fix that. So, but I pretty much just follow the ice roads or the trails where everyone else goes. And then I can venture off with my Smitty sled pretty easy.
I particularly love those videos where you see folks inside their hut and the water is just circling down through the hole. I really love those shots.
We fished a spot last year in Southern Ontario here where the slush was, and that's why I like to wear the Baffin Titans, because they are fully waterproof. I know some people will like to wear like Baffin makes like a waterproof leather boot, and they're good to -40 and they are waterproof. But when you're literally standing in water when it's slush, man, you cannot keep your feet warm. That cold water just pulls the heat out of your feet like you're standing in water. I really recommend getting actually 100% waterproof boots. And trust me, those Titans are heavy boots. Like, they're not really great to walk in. They're not my first choice if I'm going to go hiking down a trail. But when you're ice fishing, they are bulletproof. They're absolutely bulletproof boots.
100%. And a great comment there from you in regards to following the crowd, but also some local outfitters. Spread the wealth.
Yeah.
Our outfitters have taken it on the chin with COVID, and I don't even want to talk about what's going on in the world when it comes to COVID. But let's face it, if you're fully vaccinated and you have the ability to, congregate in communities and groups, by all means, spread the wealth and help out a local outfitter that has literally taken it on the chin for the last two winters.
And on that point, Scotty, this week is Black Friday sales for everybody right now. So it is a great time. One, I really recommend, if you want to get into ice fishing more and you want to update some stuff or get some new stuff, buy it now. Do not wait. And stuff is on sale now. So whether you want rods, reels, line, if you're looking at new shelters, I'm going to give everyone some advice. You might not get the one you want. Do your research about the one you were looking at. And why I put it like this is they all make good shelters now, all the big brands. So Clam's decent, Otter's decent, Eskimo's decent. And you said it to Lawrence, I believe, where there's fans of others. I love my Eskimo that I picked up because it has a full-size door. Now Otter makes one with a full-size door. Fantastic. I was actually torn last year between the Otter and the Eskimo, and I chose the Eskimo because of the full-size door. And I'm happy that I did. That hub weighs 46 pounds, which people think it's light. It is light, but I have to bring stools and I have to bring the heater and everything else. And so the hubs really aren't much lighter than the flip overs when you consider all the extra stuff you're going to bring anyways. But in the end, what's nice is it's the storage, because that stuff can fit into a smaller vehicle than a larger one. So do your research, figure out what size of hut you're looking for, be it a hub or be it a flip over, and then start calling dealers. I don't play favorites with fishing stores. I love them all. I'm going to give them all business. I just saw today Fishing World got a shipment of otters. Their Eskimos and clams are going to be coming in soon. I know Tremblay's in Aurelia's getting some huts in. So start talking to your dealers, figure out what models you want, see who's got what coming in. You might have to go for a drive to find it, but do your research now and get it figured out. Because if you're in the market for a new shelter with all the supply chain issues, you got to be willing to pull the trigger quick.
100%. And as Terry mentioned, yes, huts and flip overs are hard to find now. Hopefully it gets a little bit easier as the supply chain starts to supply the chain, because I'll tell you, there's a few links missing in that chain as it is right now with
100%.
What's going on. And Steve absolutely missed the Ice Fishing Expo. Great opportunity to have a look at some of the stuff that we're talking about and see what fits your budget, see what fits your needs. But at the end of the day, listen, this isn't about picking brands. There really isn't a bad hut maker out there. They're all great. They all have their advantages, and they're there to service you. But there's lots of folks out there that are willing, not just Jay or myself, to talk to you about what hut it is that you should be looking for to fit your needs. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the one I'll recommend, I'm going to put it in the link here, is Eskimo makes ice chisels. Other companies do too. But Eskimo makes a 2-piece ice chisel. It's really heavy, and it's 2 pieces with a pin.
Yeah.
So what's nice about that is that when I'm done using it, if I'm happy where I'm fishing and I feel the ice is safe, I pop that pin and it goes in the bottom of my sled. So I bring that chisel with me all the time. And sometimes it's handy just to open up a hole. Like when you're, if I'm using I love a K-drill auger. And if I'm using my K-drill and it's only 7.5 inches, I can make a bigger hole easily by, doing the clover leaf. And then I'll use my chisel just to chisel out those in-between pieces. And now I can pull a big walleye, a big lake trout through those holes, no problem. Because I want to pack as light as possible. I looked at getting, like an ion or an auger like that, but I just found that the K-drill is it's the right size and small for me to go with what I'm doing down here. And most of what I'm fishing for is panfish.
Yeah.
Perch, crappie, bluegill. That's what I love to chase most of the time. And, what I'm doing down here, that K-drill fits my needs really well. But I know when you go further up, when you start getting into serious ice fishing further north where it's colder, I think that a good electric auger like an ion is a really, really good investment.
100%. And when it comes to those chisels, sometimes, as I hate to say this, and I'm saying it with a straight face, the longer the better. I know we hear that all the time, but the longer the better. Not just for the ability to be more mobile on the ice, but God forbid you ever fall through. They are great for getting out of those sticky situations because it is able to displace the weight, and it gives you that ability to push yourself up when really you can't, because let's face it, some of us have a little bit more weight than others.
Well, and the Eskimo, the 2-piece chisel I'm talking about, it's heavy, Scotty. It's heavy. Like I've owned other chisels where you really got to whack it to really check the ice. But that 2-piece Eskimo, it is a heavy chisel. And there's actually some great videos, which we'll talk about in the next couple of weeks, about how to use a chisel properly.
Yeah.
How to check for ice properly. There's some fantastic videos that are out there that will talk about ice safety as we get closer to ice fishing.
Right on, Jay. Well, listen, as always, the time just seems to fly by. I don't know where it goes, but a great topic. We've got lots more to talk about. Before we go, Christina wants to know, what's the biggest fish you've pulled through the ice?
Ooh, biggest fish I've pulled through the ice. I've caught a few big fish over the years, but my favorite big fish story is Bay of Quinte. It was 13-14 walleye through a hole in Deserano in a snowstorm, and the current was wild, like under the ice, and 13-14 that's my biggest walleye.
We're not worthy. Holy smokes, that's a beast.
Yeah, and they were actually threatening to close. So I had fished, Scotty, the quick story. I fished for 3 days, fished Friday, Saturday. I caught one walleye. So we fished Friday night, all day Saturday, caught one walleye with our group. And then Sunday morning, I said, I'm going to Deserano to try and get a walleye. And they were threatening to close the 401. And I had to get back home. At the time, we were living in Brantford. So the kids were 1 and 3. Yeah. And anyways, I caught this fish and took a picture with my buddies, and I left right after because I didn't want to get stuck. You know how that highway is, man. Brighton, that whole stretch, right? And I booked it home because I'm like, I'm probably not going to catch one bigger than that. But it was a 13-14.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. 1 ounce Swedish pimple. It was the green with it's a green one with like the iridescent diamonds on it.
Yeah.
And a mud minnow, pinched in half, head on one hook, tail on the other. And it was a 1 ounce. And even with that 1 ounce lure, I remember this, I had my transducer like 3 feet away from me to pick it up in the current. Because even in that current, that 1 ounce pimple was still swinging way under the hut.
And if you haven't fished that area of Quinte, I tell you, it is something that it's like fishing the slack water up in Saguenay. That you have the tides that come into Saguenay. It's no different than Deseranta. The only thing is the water only goes one way, whereas in Saguenay it goes both ways.
I can't stand that current in Quinte. It is like a mind game. Like you're trying to figure out, okay, I got my hole. the current's going this way. I want to put my hut here, but I have to drill my transducer hole here so that my transducer can pick up my bait. Because if I can't see my spoon on my flasher, I don't want to fish. That's how addicted I am to my flasher.
That's hilarious.
And Mark's right. Crazy currents, dangerous ice. So even anytime I'm on Quinny, that is the only place where I always wear my floater suit. I don't care how cold it is.
Amen.
Because some of those big fish are out in those current areas. And I always go as a group. I have a buddy in Picton. There's 5 of us who hang out together. We get together once a year out there, and we all work together and we all take care of each other. That is how we do it out there. Have to do it.
Unbelievable. Well, as always, Jay, thanks so much for sharing a wealth of knowledge. And
thanks, everybody.
This ice fishing HardWater 101 is definitely going to be a popular topic. So
check out Jay Seaman's videos. That's homework for everybody. Like, shout out to Jay for doing that. He didn't have to, and he did that, and it's great.
Awesome. Right on, dude. You take care. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
All the best. All right. Well, just before we go, of course, we have to do our North Shore Tackle giveaway. So let me share the screen, and we will go to the wheel of names. There it is. All right. Let's see what it looks like. You folks can see it. These are all the names. Now, what we've done is we have added, as you can see, 3 squares, North Shore Tackles. So if the wheel lands on one of these, we're going to be picking 3 separate names that we're going to add to another wheel. And then it'll be the last angler standing that will take home the North Shore Tackle Pack. But for whatever reason, if the wheel lands on one of those squares, we are going to give a $50 gift card towards the purchase of North Shore for our winner, on top of the prize pack of goodies that North Shore has presented to us. So stay tuned to this. We're going to get to it as we speak. As I said, we want to pick 3 names. These are all the names that qualified. There was multiple entries. It was great to see all of the participation. Love to see the videos. And as I said, let's get to it. We're going to spin. We need 3 separate names to go on the final wheel. So here's the first spin to find out who the first name is. Oof, almost landed on there. And it looks like Yakman is our first name, Yakman, Ontario. Now we are going to write out, nope, we're not going to remove the name. Now we are going to shuffle our wheel and see who comes up next. As I said, we are looking for 3 separate individual names. Yakman is the first. He had a ton of entries, ton of entries. And it looks like Jerry Bailey. Jerry Bailey, right on. We're doing great here. That's 2. We're looking for a 3rd. We are going to shuffle the wheel again, and we are going to spin and see who the 3 names are that are going to be in the running for the North Shore Tackle prize pack. And unfortunately, the wheel did not land on one of the North Shore Tackle logos, but we're not done yet because it landed on Yakman. So we keep spinning. We're going to shuffle it again, spin again, and we are going to go till we have 3 separate names. We're going to add them to the wheel, and then we're going to spin it and see who is the last angler standing. Oh, look at that. Is it Jerry? Oh, Jerry or Brian? Is it Brian? Wow, Brian, right on. Brian, and I'm going to say this name wrong, probably Skure. Right on. Okay, so we're going to close this. We're going to our other wheel. Let us add those 3 names, and it'll be the last angler standing. We've got Yakman, and I would have to say this is a true testament to these 3 individuals who, I tell you, there was a lot of submissions from these 3, namely Yakman, Brian, and of course Matt. I won't say your name right, Matt. So I'm not even going to try to butcher it, but we will we thank you for your participation. So let us get back to StreamYard, and we are going to remove this one. And we are going to share the next screen. Is your name red? What did I do? Scotty, it showed. Was it Matt? Was it Matt? I didn't have my glasses on, so it's quite possible. I thought it was Yakman. Was it Matt? Somebody tell me. Yeah, it was. Okay, so Matt, I got it wrong. There we go. All right, let's get Yakman out of there. Thanks, folks, for recognizing that. I don't have my glasses, so I can't see. I can't say his name, so I'm not going to try and butcher it, but I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it or you spell it. And let me just double check. Yep, that's it. All right, so I got it wrong. Sorry, Yakman. I'm so glad that folks were paying attention. That's just I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see it. All right, share screen. No. Yamamoto. What the heck are you guys talking about? Yamamoto. What's Yamamoto? What are you talking about? Yes. Anyway, Yakman was third spin. Are we going to do this again? Are we going to do this again? Is that what we're going to have to do? Yakman was third spin. No, I was pretty sure that was Brian. It's right here on Brian. I can guarantee the third spin was Brian. It was not Yakman. That much I can guarantee you. All right, let's share this screen. And here, I'll add to, so if you could see it there, it is Brian Skur is the third one. Yeah. You want to put all four on the wheel? That's actually not a bad. Yeah, let's do that. Let's put Yakman on there as well. Great idea, Christina. I like that. All right, Yakman. It was that the third one was definitely Brian Skur. That much I can see. I'm not that blind, but I apologize to Yakman for missing you. Let's remove this, and we will share this wheel. All right. We'll add to stream. No, not that one. Dear Lord. Okay, share. Thank you. Stop screen share. Share. This one. Yep. All right. Share screen. Yeah. Okay. Chrome. There we go. Sorry, folks. Thanks for your patience. No, not that one. It is that one that we want to share. All right. So we put the four names just to make sure that we don't exclude or rob anybody of an opportunity. Again, last angler standing. Now that we have it right, we're all cool with that. Yakman was twice. No, definitely it was only the once. That much I know, Colin, because Brian was last, and third one was definitely Jerry Bailey. First one I may have got wrong, and I apologize for that, but we have added Yakman. We basically added all four of them. All right. Last angler standing. Let's see who it's going to be. We will remove them as they are picked. So literally the last one that it lands on is our winner of this incredible North Shore Tackle prize pack. And okay, everybody see that? Are we in agreement? It landed on Yakman. We're all good. I didn't screw it up too badly. Right on. So we're going to remove Yakman. We're going to keep spinning. We have three Matt Smagata. I'm hoping I say that right, Matt. I apologize if I'm not. Jerry Bailey and Brian Skur, and it looks like Brian is going to be removed. I apologize, Brian. Thanks so much for all your submissions. Greatly appreciate your participation. We have two remaining, Jerry Bailey and Matt, who got in by the hair of the hair of his skinny. I'm messing that up too. It's a friggin' nursery rhyme. Hair of my chinny chin chin. Holy smokes, it's a long night. All right. So whoever is chosen in this spin, unfortunately, is our runner-up, and the last one standing is our winner. Jerry, Matt, good luck. Here you go to the both of you. Let's find out who the winner is. Who's it going to be? 50-50. Jerry, Matt. Looks like Jerry Bailey is our winner. Right on. Congratulations, Jerry. Congratulations, my friend. Jerry Bailey is our winner. Congratulations to all who participated. Jerry Bailey is our winner. Yes, we love you, Scottie. Thanks, Rachel. I'm so glad you do. Blind and all, and don't know a thing about nursery rhymes. Well, listen, Jerry Bailey is the winner of our North Shore Tackle prize pack. Thanks so much to North Shore Tackle for providing this. Stay tuned. They are going to be doing a HardWater giveaway as well. So get ready, get out and purchase some North Shore Tackle product to make sure you have it on hand so that you can qualify for the next contest that we do. And I promise I'll wear my glasses and we'll get it right. And I'm going to learn my nursery rhymes. I'll tell you, I am going to start tonight to make sure that I don't screw that up again. But yes, absolutely. So here's the link. Steve, thanks for sharing that. North Shore Tackle is the place to go if you're looking for swag, if you're looking for great plastics, beads, and a whole bunch of other great stuff, including some fantastic scent. The plastics work great on their own as it is, work even better when you put scent to it. Again, thanks so much for your patience. Have a terrific night as well as you, Christina. Thanks for all who joined us. Again, Thursday, Cameron Tate's going to be with us with a brand new recipe. It sounds delicious, and whatever Cameron does, it looks so easy and it looks scrumptious. So stay tuned to that. 8 o'clock Thursday. We'll start calling. You can call me whatever. I've been called worse, Tony. I can guarantee you that. Anyway, have yourselves a great week. We'll see you Thursday. All the best. Much love. Stay safe. And bring on that HardWater, baby. Yeah, baby.